Detroit Den 313 fans, family, welcome back. Steve and Will talking some Detroit Lions football. We're talking a local kid today. For those of you who don't love Michigan football, or if we're introduced to you to Michigan football, we're talking Mike Sainristil for the Michigan Wolverines. Position of need for the Detroit Lions. We're keeping it homegrown. A lot of people in our comments have mentioned his name. Put some emojis, some fire emojis, some prayer emojis. A lot of people want Mike Sainristil to be a Detroit Lion. William, how do you feel? National champion Mike Sainristil, I might add.
Yeah, put some respect on his name. Agent Zero. Love the kid, man. Love him. Speed, power, mojo. A guy that just kind of was a staple for our defense in the sense of like he injected us with just nitro, man. Like he was one of those guys you could argue was one of the hearts and souls. You could see him, riling the guys up. You could see, when he made a big play, he was going nuts and getting the defense pumped up. I love the kid, man. I think he is just going to be a great football player in the NFL.
We've watched this kid play every single snap at Michigan football.
Mm-hmm.
Started out as a wide receiver, converted to a defensive back two years ago, I believe. How do you think that that's going to help him in the NFL from being a receiver to a DB?
You know what, man? When he crossed over, I was like, he's a smaller guy. I don't know, And then he got on the field and I said, wow, he's physical, man. He is not afraid. He doesn't look like a receiver that changed into a DB. Right. He'll come up and even though he's not the biggest guy in the world, he'll put those pads on you. I just think that the ball skills, you see it when the ball's in the air, the way that he breaks on footballs. He isn't a DB that is saying, hey, I got to break on this football and take it away from the receiver. He's a DB that's breaking on the football and saying it's mine. This guy's throwing it to me. Like some of the breaks that he has are special. I think that's one of the things that are going to make him an elite talent at the NFL level. I see him doing good things. I think that just makes him the receiver.
Elite talent at the NFL level?
Yeah, I think elite, man. I think he's going to be an elite talent, man. I do. I really do. I think his upside is different from some of the guys that we've even talked about just because of his abilities to be able to understand passing concepts in front of him, his ability to be able to jump footballs, and his ball skills. He's got elite ball skills.
Yeah, he's a little undersized. ESPN has him listed at 5'10". We'll call it 180. That's a little guy. That's not a big guy. He's mostly known for being a nickel this past season with Will Johnson and Josh Wallace on the outside. He kind of moved into nickel. How do you think he will translate to the NFL? Because on the Detroit Lions, we don't need a nickel corner. We have the best nickel corner in the NFL in Brian Branch.
Careful there. But you're
not even close. It's not even close. I don't need to be careful if I'm talking the truth.
But yeah, go Jacket. But anyways, yeah, man. I think that he plays cornerback too. And maybe it's not day one. He's gonna come in, he's gonna be a depth piece. He's gonna come in, he's gonna be a guy that's gonna run that 4-4 on special teams. He's gonna come in and it's gonna be a guy that's gonna work hard. I see him just doing what he needs to do to follow the path, the 2-year, 3-year path of development, and he comes out of that as a great cornerback to me. That's what I see for his future.
So instant upgrade over Kendall Vildor, day one starter, you think?
I don't know if he's a day one starter, but I think that he would be an upgrade from Kendall Vildor. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get on the field. These guys at the cornerback position, I like for them to get a little bit of time before they end up on the field because they got to get comfortable with the NFL releases, the NFL physicality at the line of scrimmage, and coming up and tackling NFL running backs and receivers catching these screen balls because Justin Jefferson catching a screenplay and, probably the local kid from your that you're playing with Saturday down in and down out is probably going to be a little bit different, even though I know we live in a world that they had Marvin Harrison and yeah, that was 1 week.
Mike Sainristil is just known for big plays.
Mm-hmm.
If you're one of those fans that looks at interceptions as a telling stat, which I personally don't, 6 interceptions this past year. I think he had 2 or 3 pick sixes, and he had the biggest interception in Michigan football history in the national championship game to close it out. Like, this kid finds the ball, he catches ball, he runs ball. Like, It's all three. So I could see him as cornerback too. Here's where I was a little hesitant because I know this past season he played nickel. So I guess my mind was just kind of trapped at, well, we don't need Mike Sainristil. We have Brian Branch. We don't need a nickel corner. But when you talked to me and you said he'll play cornerback too, I immediately said, you're right. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Kendall Vildor, instant upgrade. Not in love with his size. I think, especially in the red zone, that could be a problem with some of these bigger receivers we have in our own division. Christian Watson, Justin Jefferson, kid from Chicago, DJ Moore. We got our hands full with some of these red zone target receivers. And I think that's where he could struggle is in the red zone, trying to body up some of these bigger receivers at 5'10". That's kind of small. But overall, I would take Mike Sainristil in probably round 3.
I just had to look up because when you started talking about his size, I was just curious of what his vertical jump is. He's a 40+ inch vertical jump guy. I think that's going to get him in the game as well, as far as, those jump balls, man, instead of just getting big body. Now, it would be a situation where you got to time your jump. It makes things a little bit tougher. But again, he's coming from that receiver background. He played receiver up and through college, man. So he was at Michigan getting all that receiver training too. Ball timing, jump, timing that ball up in the air, getting it at the peak of the jump and all of that. I think those things that he'll be successful at. And I don't think it'll be as big of a deal because when we talk about these 6 foot corners, 6 foot plus, that's kind of the NFL has changed to that. This used to be normal cornerback size, and I still wouldn't say that it's too far gone now. If he was 5'9", 5'8", then we might be like, you know what I mean? But at 5'10", vertical jumping over 40 inches, running a 4.4, I think he'll be just fine.
I think what's going to help Mike is his past knowledge and experience as a wide receiver, translating that to defensive back. He understands route concepts on downs and distances. Like when it's 3rd and goal from the 5, the other team's more than likely not running unless you're Dan Campbell and you just got a big set of balls. So I think Mike will be able to take that 1 to 2 seconds and say, all right, what I'm guarding the X receiver, whatever his name is. What can he run here? It's probably going to be a pick play or some type of fade or slant. Like I think it really comes down to those 3, maybe a speed out. So I think he's going to be able to dissect. And this is where his knowledge of film and everything's going to come in handy is what can the receiver I'm guarding run in this scenario? And how can I jump it to use that to my advantage? I think that's probably his best, most not talked about trait is route concepts.
Yeah, and it translates to the film. He's patient at the release point, and then he jumps routes. You see it on film. That's how he made those big plays. I think that's definitely going to translate once he starts to understand NFL offenses and what the cornerbacks or what the receivers are doing and what he needs to do as a cornerback, how to play together on a string. He'll be just fine.
I got a hot take.
Fire it away.
Is Mike Sainristil the second best defensive player to ever come out of the University of Michigan?
Oh, buddy, that's tough.
Because number 1's Charles. Like that's not even an opinion. So who's number 2?
That's tough. I'd have to. I don't know, man. I can't.
I think it's Mike Sainristil.
I don't know. That's tough, man. Like,
defense only. Charles Woodson.
Do
you want to go like Lamar Woodley? Like I can understand it, but I think Mike's in the conversation.
He's definitely in the conversation, but there's a lot of great defenders that's come out of the University of Michigan. Like I even think about the last few seasons. Like I don't know, man.
He's better at Michigan. He's been better than Jabril Peppers. He's been more productive than Rashawn Gary was at Michigan. I know Rashawn Gary's elite right now. It took him a little bit in the NFL to get going, but Rashawn Gary, don't get me wrong, is an absolute dog. But at Michigan, we know he didn't put up the type of production for a number 1 recruit coming out of high school. It's no brainer for me.
Here's my issue right out of the gate. He's not better than Will Johnson. So, I mean,
time will tell. Will still got another year.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where it really starts for me. That's kind of why I was like, I don't even know if he was the best defender on his team. Yeah.
I can say he will. Will Johnson still got another year of eligibility, and I look forward to it. But as it sits today, I think Mike Sainristil is the second best defensive player to ever come out of the University of Michigan. And there's been some names. With Brandon Graham, the hell of a player to come out. But at Michigan, didn't really win much. It was kind of a shitty time for Michigan football back in the Brady Hoke era, like end of Lord Carr. Like, I think it's Mike Sainristil, and a lot of people might disagree, but
I can't ride with that production. I can't ride with that one just because Hey, man, I think we're going to be talking about Will Johnson next year, after next season, as maybe a top 15
First
pick.
round
And
pick. Yeah, he's going to be probably the number one corner coming out next year. But I'm just
I was
talking
just
from
about
a
to say,
production standpoint. Mike Sainristil.
yeah, sometimes, man, you don't get production when you're just
Okay, easy now. Easy now. I will say this, I know we're talking Will Johnson and we got a whole nother year of him, but what he did against Marvin Harrison was, I think, 50-50, and they were matched up quite a bit this past season. We're not talking about like Cam Hart with only 2 reps. Like, we're talking Will Johnson versus Marvin Harrison this past year.
Yes.
And Marv made some plays, Will made some plays, including an interception. So that's a kid that we could keep an eye on for the future for next season.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're not picking in the top 15, so it's not even a discussion. We better be picking at number 32, but Will Johnson will be the number one corner probably coming out of college football next season.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
You just can't get with me on that take, huh?
Will Johnson's
I'll die on that island. I'll die on it all by myself. I'll
like
be Tom Hanks in Castaway. I'll just make a house there. I'll live there. I get a little volleyball, name him Wilson, and maybe I name the volleyball Sainristil. I don't know, Sainristil Island. But I'm ready to live there. So, guys, is there anything else about Mikey that we need to talk about?
Yeah, man. Hopefully, we see you in that that third round.
That Mason blue, would you look better in Honolulu blue? It would be a nice little transition. We haven't drafted many Michigan men other than Hutch. I know Glasgow was a few years ago, but maybe this is, Michigan has the the most recruits going to the combine. Did you know that? 18? Most recruits ever.
No, but it makes sense because I feel like darn near a whole offensive line and defense should be there if you're coming out.
Yeah. And JJ McCarthy, Blake Corum, those guys. So, yeah, Michigan's going to be stacked at the combine. Mike Sainristil is going to be a guy we're watching when it's the DB's day. Keep an eye on him. Little undersized, but we think he could come in, make a huge impact for the Detroit Lions. Great ball skills, great tackling skills, leadership skills, all that. He's a total package. Hard yes for me on Mike Sainristil. I'm probably looking at like a round 3, though.
Yeah, same. Round 3. If he got selected, I'd be ecstatic.
So, guys, you guys asked us to talk about Mike Sainristil, someone we're very, very familiar with. Didn't even need any notes for this episode. We watched this kid play all of college, a little bit of high school. Very, very familiar with Mike Sainristil, his story. Michigan man, national championship. Leave some more names down in the comments. We'll get to them if it's interesting. If it makes sense, we'll talk about it. Hit that like button. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, guys, and we'll be back later with some more content.
Peace.